The viewing chamber glowed with soft blue light as three young luminari huddled around a contraband entertainment device. Their natural bioluminescence pulsed with excitement as they watched humans climb mountains, swim in oceans, and camp in wild forests. To most galactic species, these activities looked like pure madness. Look at them. Blue's antenna twitched as he watched a human casually start a fire. They just sit there next to a plasma reaction and cook their food with it. In the open air, Silver, the tallest of the three friends, adjusted his gravity compensator and leaned closer to the screen. That's nothing. Watch how they sleep on the ground with only a thin barrier between them and the soil. No force fields, no defense systems. Because they're tough, Ray said, his usual quiet voice filled with admiration. They evolved on that crazy planet. What do they call it? Earth, Blue and Silver said together. The three friends had met at the Galactic Academy of Xenobiology, where Earth was studied as an example of extreme evolution. Their own homeworld, like most civilized planets, was a Class 3, perfect gravity, stable weather, and absolutely no dangerous wildlife. Earth, on the other hand, was classified as Class 13, a designation created specifically for it after the first survey teams nearly died just taking samples. Blue stood up suddenly, his whole body flashing with purple excitement. Let's do it. Do what? Silver asked, though his color patterns showed he already knew what his friend was thinking. Let's go camping. On Earth. Blue's words made the other two freeze their color patterns in shock. Ray recovered first. That's illegal. And suicide. The gravity alone would crush our exoskeletons if our compensators failed. Not with the new Mark 7 compensators, Blue argued. My uncle works in research and development. They're rated for up to Class 15 worlds now. I can borrow 3 sets. Silver's colors shifted to a thoughtful green. We'd need a ship and cloaking technology. Earth is under quarantine except for official research teams. My family has a small explorer vessel, Ray said quietly, surprising the others. It's old, but the cloaking still works. My parents never use it anymore. The three friends looked at each other, their bioluminescence synchronizing in the way that showed deep connection among their species. They had all grown up hearing stories about Earth, watching illegal streams of human activities, and dreaming about seeing the legendary Deathworld for themselves. We could be famous, Blue said. The first recreational visitors to Earth. Think of the stories we could tell. Or we could die horribly, Ray pointed out, but his colors showed more excitement than fear. We've studied Earth in detail, Silver added, warming to the idea. We know what to avoid. The apex predators, the extreme weather, the toxic plants. We just need to pick a safe spot and be careful. They spent the next hour planning. Ray would get the ship ready. Blue would secure the latest protective gear from his uncle's lab. Silver, who had the highest grades in Earth studies, would pick their landing site and prepare their camping equipment. Remember, Silver said as they finished planning, we need to stay away from human settlements. Their eyes might not see our cloaking technology, as well as other species do. And we only stay for one Earth day, Ray insisted. Just long enough to set up camp, experience the planet, and take evidence holos. Agreed. Blue said, we'll be careful. Nothing can go wrong with good planning. As they left the viewing chamber, their bodies glowing with excitement, none of them noticed that the human in their paused video was holding up a warning sign about bear safety. Even if they had seen it, they wouldn't have understood why anyone would need warnings about the large furry creatures that looked so soft and huggable in the nature documentaries. The three friends parted ways, each heading off to prepare for their adventure. In their minds, they were already composing the stories they would tell about their brave expedition to the legendary Class 13 Deathworld. They had no way of knowing that their story would indeed become famous across the galaxy, just not for the reasons they imagined. Ray's family ship hung in low Earth orbit, its cloaking system working overtime to hide from the primitive but surprisingly effective human detection systems. Inside, three young luminary hunched over the navigation console, their bodies glowing with different colors, as they argued about where to land. The desert would be safest, Silver said, pointing at a vast brown area on the map. Fewer life forms to worry about. Blue's antenna wiggled in disagreement. But it's too hot. Our cooling systems would fail in minutes. Plus, humans never camp in deserts in those videos we watched. What about here? Ray zoomed the map to a green area marked as Canada. The temperature readings are perfect for our biology. And look, lots of trees for cover. The ship's AI chirped a warning. Alert! Selected region contains multiple large predator species, including Ursus americanus and Ursus arctos horribilis. Override warning, Blue said casually. Those are just the furry earth creatures that eat plants and honey. We saw them in documentaries. The AI tried again. Alert! Weather patterns indicate possible atmospheric disturbance within next 12 hours. Silver waved his hand dismissively. Override that too. We've studied Earth weather. How bad can a little rain be? The AI fell silent, but a small indicator light continued blinking red on the control panel. None of the three friends noticed it. Look at this spot, Ray said, highlighting a small clearing near a lake. Perfect for camping. Water nearby, flat ground, and the nearest human settlement is 50 kilometers away. The ship's sensors swept the area, showing peaceful readings. Of course, they weren't calibrated to recognize things like bear tracks, skunk dens, or the fact that the pleasant summer weather had brought out every mosquito within 100 miles. Atmosphere analysis shows higher oxygen levels than our home world, Silver noted, checking the readings. We'll need to adjust our breathing filters. Blue was already pulling out their new Mark 7 gravity compensators. These beauties will handle Earth's crushing gravity. My uncle says they're practically indestructible. Practically. Ray's colors shifted to a worried purple. Don't worry. He tests them in much worse conditions than this, Blue assured him. Now, let's go over our camping gear. They had spent a small fortune on what they thought was the best camping equipment in the galaxy. Their tent could hover above the ground and generate its own climate control field. Their food storage units had built-in force fields. They even had personal shield generators that could supposedly stop any Earth predator. Remember, Silver said as they prepared for landing, we stay cloaked at all times. No contact with humans. We just set up camp, stay one day, take lots of pictures, and leave. Setting us down now, Ray announced, his hands moving carefully over the controls. I found a perfect spot between those big trees. The ship descended slowly through Earth's atmosphere, its hull heating up more than they expected. They had studied the planet's atmospheric composition, but reading about air resistance was very different from experiencing it. As they landed, the ship's sensors registered several large life forms moving away from the noise. The AI tried one last time to warn them about the bear cubs that had been playing in the clearing earlier, and about the mother bear who would definitely be back to check on them. Landing complete, Ray announced proudly. We made it. The three friends looked out at the Earth forest through their viewing screen. It looked peaceful enough. Beautiful, even. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, birds flew overhead, and somewhere nearby, water splashed against a shore. See, Blue said confidently, nothing to worry about. This'll be the greatest adventure of our lives. As they prepared to exit the ship, a tiny insect landed on their front viewport. None of them recognized it as a mosquito or knew that where there was one, there were usually thousands more nearby. The ship's AI, having done its best to warn them, began calculating how long it would take their home world to receive the distress signal it had already prepared to send. The first hour on Earth went exactly as planned. The three luminary friends set up their hovering tent in the clearing, their bodies glowing with pride at their accomplishment. Then Earth decided to introduce itself properly. Is anyone else feeling heavy? Ray asked, adjusting his gravity compensator for the third time. Even with the Mark 7's advanced technology, Earth's pull felt like it was trying to squash them flat. Just need to get used to it, Blue said, though his usual bouncing walk had turned into more of a waddle. The compensators are working fine. Silver was busy taking atmospheric readings. The oxygen levels are higher than our simulations suggested. It's making me feel a bit weird. He giggled, a very un-Silver-like sound. You're right, Blue said, watching his friend's usually precise movements become wobbly. Everything feels funny. But in a good way. He tried to do a dance, nearly falling over in the process. Ray, the most serious of the three, tried to focus on their checklist. We need to. Ouch. He slapped at his neck. Something bit me. Impossible, Silver said, checking his own readings. Our protective fields stop any. Ouch. He slapped his arm. Tiny flying insects had discovered the aliens and seemed very interested in their bioluminescent skin. Somehow, these miniature terrors could slip right through their advanced force fields. What are they? Blue asked, watching in horror as more insects appeared. How are they getting through our defenses? Silver consulted their Earth wildlife database. They match something called mosquitoes, but they're listed as harmless minor irritants. Minor. Ray's color patterns flashed in distress as he swatted at another one. They're piercing our outer membrane. How is this possible? Their protective fields could stop plasma bolts and energy weapons, but somehow couldn't block a bug smaller than their fingertip. The three friends retreated into their hovering tent, which at least seemed able to keep the mosquitoes out. Okay, minor setback, Blue said, trying to stay positive. At least we're safe in here. And look how beautiful this place is. Through the tent's transparent walls, they could see the sun setting through the trees. Their bodies automatically began to glow brighter as darkness approached, a natural response for their species. We should take some pictures, Silver suggested, still slightly giggly from the oxygen-rich air. No one will believe we actually camped on a Class 13 Deathworld. As they posed for photos, none of them noticed the small black and white creature watching them from the bushes. It had been attracted by their glowing bodies and was curious about these strange new visitors in its territory. Look, Ray pointed suddenly. I think it's one of those Earth pets. A kitty, right? The skunk waddled closer, its tail rising slowly. It's so cute. Blue moved toward the tent's entrance. The database says Earth pets are friendly. Let's try to make first contact. Wait, Silver said, finally managing to focus enough to check their wildlife guide. I don't think that's a... But Blue had already opened the tent and stepped outside, arms spread wide in a universal greeting gesture. Hello, little Earth kitty. We come in peace. The skunk, faced with a glowing alien creature twice its size, made a decision that skunks have been making for millions of years when confronted with strange situations. Ray and Silver watched in horror through the tent wall as their friend learned exactly why Earth was classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. The fact that even the planet's smallest creatures had evolved chemical weapons was not mentioned in any of their study materials. Blue's scream echoed through the forest, followed by a smell that their atmospheric filters were definitely not designed to handle. Somewhere in the ship, the AI added another item to its growing list of "I told you so" incidents to report back to the homeworld. Blue sat in the hovering tent, wrapped in emergency cleaning fields, but the horrible smell from the cute Earth kitty wouldn't go away. His friends had tried everything in their medical kit to help, but nothing worked against skunk spray. The good news, Silver said, still checking their wildlife database, is that it's not deadly. The bad news is, well, you might smell like this for a while. A while. Blue's colors shifted to a miserable gray. How long is a while? Silver wisely decided not to answer that question. Instead, he focused on their next problem. We need to store our food supplies for the night. The force field containers should keep everything safe. Are you sure? Ray asked, watching dark clouds gather in the distance. Maybe we should take everything back to the ship. The ship is too far away now, Silver said. Besides, these are top-of-the-line storage units. Nothing on Earth could possibly break through their force fields. They placed their food containers near their tent, activated the shields, and watched with satisfaction as the blue force field hummed to life around them. What they didn't know was that their sensors were calibrated to detect large predators, not the family of raccoons watching them from the trees. As night fell, their bodies naturally began glowing brighter. The three friends decided to make the best of their situation by creating a beautiful light show, their bioluminescence painting patterns in the darkness. "This is amazing," Ray said, his body pulsing with rainbow colors. "Look how our lights reflect off the clouds." Silver looked up at the clouds and frowned. "Those clouds are moving pretty fast." The ship's AI said something about weather. "Stop worrying," Blue said, trying to stay cheerful despite still smelling terrible. "A little rain won't hurt us. Our tent has environmental shields." Thunder rumbled in the distance. None of them knew enough about Earth weather to realize this meant the storm was getting closer. They were too busy watching in fascination as hundreds of moths began gathering around them, attracted by their glowing bodies. "They're like tiny flying flowers," Blue said, trying to pet one of the moths. "Much nicer than those biting insects from earlier." Guys," Ray pointed at their food storage units. "What are those things doing?" In the darkness, they could see small masked faces gathered around their supplies. The raccoons had spent the last hour figuring out that if they reached through the force field very slowly, they could grab the food without triggering the defensive systems. "Hey, stop that." Silver ran toward the containers, waving his arms. The raccoons looked at him, grabbed more food, and calmly walked away into the bushes. "Did those tiny Earth creatures just steal from us?" Blue asked in disbelief. "How did they break through our force fields?" Before anyone could answer, the storm arrived. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a boom of thunder that shook the ground. The aliens huddled in their tent, watching as rain began to fall in sheets. "The environmental shields will protect us," Silver said confidently, just as a particularly bright lightning bolt struck a nearby tree. The electromagnetic pulse made their tent's hovering system flicker. "Was it supposed to do that?" Ray asked nervously. "Of course not." Silver checked their systems. "But it's fine. The backup power will." Another lightning strike hit closer, and suddenly their tent dropped 2 feet. The hovering system was failing, their food was mostly stolen, and now they could see large shapes moving in the darkness outside. "What are those?" Blue whispered, pointing at the huge furry creatures approaching their camp. Silver checked their wildlife guide one last time and felt his colors drain to pure white. "Remember those harmless furry creatures that eat plants and honey? Well, apparently they also eat everything else. And I think we just met the whole family." The bears, attracted by the scattered food and glowing aliens, decided to investigate more closely. As the tent's hovering system gave one final sputter and died, the three friends learned another important lesson about camping on Earth. Sometimes all your problems come at once. The three luminary friends stared in horror as their advanced hover tent settled firmly onto the wet Earth ground. Rain poured down around them, lightning flashed overhead, and 3 very large bears investigated their campsite with growing interest. "Don't panic," Silver said, trying to keep his voice steady. "The tent's force field is still working. They can't get in." As if nature itself wanted to prove him wrong, another lightning bolt struck nearby. The electromagnetic pulse made all their remaining systems flicker dangerously. "Quick!" Ray pulled out their emergency beacon. "We need to call the ship." Blue, still reeking of skunk spray, watched as the largest bear stood up on its back legs. Is it supposed to be that tall? It looked much smaller in the videos. The emergency beacon sparked in Ray's hands as the storm interfered with its circuits. Their last connection to the ship died with a sad little beep. "Okay, new plan," Silver said, his scientific mind racing. "We're trained professionals. We can handle this." That's when the tent's force field failed completely. Rain poured in, soaking them instantly. Their natural bioluminescence flickered wildly in response to their panic, creating a light show that attracted even more moths and confused the bears. The trees. Ray pointed to a large pine nearby. Earth creatures can climb them. We saw it in the videos. They ran for the trees, their gravity compensators struggling with the sudden movement. Blue reached the nearest pine first and started climbing. Silver took another tree, his long limbs helping him scramble up quickly. Ray wasn't so lucky. He made it halfway up his tree before realizing one of the bears had decided to follow him. "They can climb too," he screamed, his colors flashing in panic. Nobody said they could climb. Meanwhile, Blue had his own problems. His tree was already occupied. The skunk that had sprayed him earlier had a den in a hollow about halfway up, and it was not happy to see him again. No. Blue tried to climb higher, but the skunk had the advantage of being on its home territory. For the second time that night, Blue learned about Earth's chemical warfare capabilities. Silver, watching from his tree, tried to access their database for help, but the rain had gotten into their equipment. All their advanced technology was failing, one system at a time. "Our gravity compensators are at 10%. He yelled over the storm. "We need to get back to the ship." "How?" Ray called back, now clinging to the very top of his tree, while the bear below seemed content to wait him out. "We can't outrun them." A flash of lightning illuminated the clearing, showing the full disaster their camping trip had become. Their tent lay flat on the ground, their supplies were scattered everywhere, and the raccoons had returned with reinforcements to steal whatever was left. Blue, now smelling worse than ever, tried to think positive. At least it can't get any worse. The storm chose that moment to deliver a tremendous thunderclap, spooking every animal in the area. The bears jumped, the raccoons scattered, and hundreds of moths swarmed in confusion. In the chaos, Blue lost his grip on the tree. His gravity compensator gave one final warning beep and died just as he fell. Earth's full gravity hit him like a wall. He bounced off several branches and landed face first in a huge patch of what he would later learn was poison ivy. "Found something worse," he mumbled into the plants. Silver, still in his tree, saw a new light in the distance. At first, he thought it was more lightning, but this light was steady and moving through the trees toward them. Then he heard something that made his heart stop, the sound of a human voice. "Hello? Anyone out there? This is Park Ranger Jack. We got reports of strange lights in this area." The three aliens, covered in mud, skunk spray, and whatever else Earth had thrown at them, realized their night was far from over. First contact with humans was about to happen whether they wanted it or not. Park Ranger Jack had seen many strange things during his 15 years working in the Canadian wilderness, but nothing had prepared him for what his flashlight beam revealed in that stormy clearing. 3 glowing creatures were stuck in trees while bears wandered below. One was flashing like a broken Christmas light. Another was giving off a smell that made his eyes water, and the third was wrapped in what looked like a portable bubble made of light. "Well," Jack said to himself, "that's definitely not a lost hiking group." The ranger had gotten several calls about strange lights in the forest. He'd expected to find teenagers with laser pointers or maybe illegal campers. Instead, he was pretty sure he was looking at honest-to-goodness aliens. "Hello up there," he called out, trying to sound calm. "Looks like you folks could use some help." The 3 aliens froze, their glow dimming in surprise. They hadn't prepared for talking to humans. Their translation devices were working, but none of them knew the proper protocol for being rescued from trees by a species they weren't supposed to contact. No help needed. Silver called down, trying to sound casual while clinging to his tree branch. "Just enjoying Earth's tall plants." Jack shone his flashlight at Ray's tree, where the bear was still waiting patiently below. "That's a full-grown grizzly down there. You sure you don't want help?" Before Ray could answer, his last working gravity compensator died. Without its help, Earth's gravity made his grip slip. He fell with a yelp, but his personal force field bubble activated just in time. Now he bounced gently along the ground like a glowing hamster ball, with a very confused bear watching him roll past. "That's new," Jack said, reaching for the bear's spray on his belt. He'd never used it to protect bouncing alien bubbles before, but there was a first time for everything. Meanwhile, Blue had managed to climb down from his tree, leaving the angry skunk behind. He stumbled toward the ranger, dripping wet and smelling worse than anything Jack had ever encountered. "Please help," Blue said, his translator glitching from the rain. Earth is very enthusiastic about defending itself. Jack couldn't help but laugh. In all his years as a ranger, this would definitely be his most interesting rescue. He pulled out his bear spray and used it with practiced skill, sending the grizzlies wandering off into the forest. "Coast is clear," he called up to Silver. "You can come down now." Silver climbed down carefully, trying to maintain some dignity. "We appreciate your assistance, Earth Ranger Jack. We were just conducting some informal research." "You mean camping?" Jack grinned, helping Ray out of his force field bubble. "Let me guess, you saw some videos and thought it looked easy." The three aliens looked at each other in surprise. How did he know? "Happens all the time," Jack explained, leading them toward his ranger truck. "Well, maybe not with aliens, but I rescue city folks every week who think camping is just like in the videos." As they walked, Jack pulled out his radio to call for backup. Then he paused, looking at the bedraggled aliens. "I'm supposed to report any unusual activity in the park, but maybe we can keep this quiet if you promise to take some proper camping lessons next time." The three friends nodded quickly, their colors showing both relief and embarrassment. "Though I have to ask," Jack said, helping Blue into the truck bed since the skunk smell was too strong for the cabin. "Didn't you check the warning signs? This is prime grizzly territory in summer." "Signs?" Ray asked weakly. "Yeah, big yellow ones at every trail entrance. Can't miss them." Silver's colors shifted to a deep shade of embarrassment. "We landed directly in the clearing. Didn't use the trails." Jack shook his head, starting the truck. "Rule number 1 of camping: always read the warning signs, even if you have to fly down from space to see them." As they drove through the rain toward the ranger station, the aliens learned their most important lesson about Earth. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is ignore local advice. 1 month after their Earth camping adventure, Blue, Silver, and Ray sat in a quarantine pod back on their home world. They had become instant celebrities across the galaxy, though not quite in the way they had planned. And that's when the small black and white Earth creature sprayed you. The interviewer asked, her antenna twitching with amusement. Blue's colors shifted to an embarrassed purple. "Yes, we learned later it's called a skunk." The smell lasted 2 weeks, even with advanced cleaning technology. The interview was being broadcast live across 50 star systems. Their story had become the most watched entertainment program in recent history, especially among young aliens who had always wondered about the mysterious Class 13 Deathworld. "Tell us about the human who rescued you," the interviewer prompted. "Ranger Jack," Silver said, his colors brightening at the memory. He treated the whole thing like it was just another day at work. "Bears? No problem. Aliens falling out of trees. All in a day's work. He even helped us recover our ship," Ray added, "though he did make us take a camping safety course first." The video footage from their ship's AI had become legendary. Clips of Blue getting sprayed by the skunk, Ray bouncing around in his force field bubble, and Silver trying to shoo away raccoons were being shared across every galactic social media platform. The Galactic Parks and Recreation Board had even created a new training video titled "Why We Have Safety Protocols," a case study of Earth tourism gone wrong. It was now mandatory viewing for all space travelers. "Your experience has led to some interesting changes," the interviewer noted. The Earth Tourism Board has added new warning labels to their planetary description. A hologram appeared, showing the updated Earth warning sign. "Caution, Class 13 Deathworld. Even the cute animals can ruin your day. Local gravity will not respect your technology. Weather considers your plans a personal challenge. Size of wildlife may be larger than appears in documentation. If a human says something is dangerous, believe them. We've also heard, the interviewer continued, that Ranger Jack received a special commendation. Yes, Blue's colors rippled with excitement. They created a new category just for him: Excellence in First Contact Rescue Operations. He's now teaching a course on interstellar visitor safety at the Ranger Academy. The interview shifted to viewer questions from across the galaxy. The most common one was, would you ever go back to Earth? The three friends looked at each other, their colors synchronizing in that special way that showed deep friendship and shared experience. Actually, Silver said, we're planning another trip. The interviewer's antenna shot straight up in surprise. After everything that happened. This time we're doing it properly, Ray explained. With permits, guides, and proper training. Ranger Jack is helping us organize it, and we're going in winter. Blue added enthusiastically. Jack says most of the bears will be sleeping then. Though he did mention something about blizzards and hypothermia. Silver said thoughtfully, we should probably look those up before we go. The interview ended with a final question about what they had learned from their adventure. Earth is classified as a Class 13 death world for very good reasons, Ray said seriously. But the most dangerous thing we did was thinking we knew better than the locals. Also, Blue added, what looks cute and harmless in a video might spray you with stink juice that takes 2 weeks to clean off. But most importantly, Silver concluded, we learned that sometimes the best stories come from things going wonderfully wrong. As the interview ended, their Quarantine Pod's AI played a message from Ranger Jack. He had attached a beginner's guide to winter camping and a note that read, looking forward to your next visit. This time, let's try to avoid making first contact with any skunks. The three friends laughed, their bodies glowing with all the colors of happiness. Their next adventure would probably still go wrong in some way, but at least this time they'd know enough to read the warning signs first.